What's up, guys? Today we're taking a look at Wolfenstein II on the Nintendo Switch. Now, we've been keeping an eye on this game because it was so fascinating to see this and Doom, right, move to the Switch, because whenever we see these games move to the Switch, it's a portable system then, so these games are playable on the go or just without a TV. It doesn't necessarily have to be outside the house. Maybe you just don't want to have to play in front of the TV or anything because you have to be around the house, or maybe you have kids that you have to keep an eye on, or who knows. But you don't have as much time in front of the TV, for example, and that's why it's pretty cool to see these type of games kind of show up. So what we're playing here is the first real level of the game. There is a part before this where you're in a wheelchair. This is when you first get your power armor, and all of a sudden he can walk again and everything. I didn't want to get too much further in than this because I don't want to spoil it or anything for you. Because it is a pretty cool game to really get into. So how about we do this? We'll play a little bit of this, and I'll kind of talk about it as well, just so you guys can kind of get an idea of the game overall. Because I have some thoughts on the game, and I do think this is worth picking up for some people, but it might not be worth picking up for everyone, okay? And I'm going to kind of talk about that a little bit. So we're about to go through here and start taking out some people. As we've just kind of made our way into an area where we're going to be doing a lot of fighting. And the Switch is interesting. Panic Button, once again, does something that a lot of people didn't think was possible, and they have ported Wolfenstein II to a system that is essentially a tablet, right? I mean, it's the size of a tablet and everything. It's crazy to see this type of a game running on a system. It's even crazier when it's in handheld mode, right? Because then you're essentially playing this game as a portable, and it's crazy to think about that at this point, because this game in particular, there's a lot of stuff going on. So it runs on the same engine as Doom, and it has a lot of the same compromises. Which, if you remember Doom, it had a lot of issues with resolution and the frame rate would drop, things like that, right? But people still bought it, played it, and liked it. So I'm going to tell you now, if you liked Doom, you're probably going to be okay with this game. With the resolution and everything, you're going to be fine with it. But if you did not buy Doom and you've been waiting on Wolfenstein, I'm going to go over a couple things with you, because this is a $6 game, and I don't want you to buy it and then not know what you're getting out of it. You know what I mean? Like when you're going into it expecting one thing and then getting something else. So I will be brutally honest with this game as well. We'll just be straight up with it, because its strength is not its visuals, it's its versatility when it comes to being able to take it on the go with you. And that's kind of what we expect with a lot of Switch games, is we understand there's going to be compromises with the resolution, frame rate, which all of that, there is compromises with all of that, but it can be played portably. And we're also doing a comparison, just so you can kind of get an idea of what, like the Xbox, I have the Xbox version as well that I played through last year when it came out, and I liked the game. Let me talk about the game for a second. I like the game. The game is interesting because it gets a little crazy when you're playing through it. It doesn't take itself seriously, so don't go into this game expecting that, right? Don't go into this game expecting for it to be very realistic. It's not. It gets a little crazy at times, and I actually like that, to be honest. It's so weird. It gets so off the rails. Some people were turned off by that. I actually thought it was fun. I don't know. I didn't come into this game expecting it to be like super down to earth, and it's not. But it's a good game. The gunplay is fun. It takes about, I think it was like 12 hours or so to get through it. And it's all offline single player. There's no multiplayer. Now, if you buy this physically on the Switch, you will have to download some I think it's like 8 gigabytes of download space. I'd have to double check. I did get it digitally. Bethesda sent it over for me to check out. So I did get it digitally and everything, which is fine. But it is one of those games you have to then download as well. So keep that in mind. So the game runs at half the frame rate of the Xbox One and the PS4. I almost said 360. Xbox One and the PS4. This runs at 30. Those ones run at 60. Again, similar to what they did with Doom, where they cut the frame rate in half, and that's kind of how they got around it running on a system that's obviously punching well above its weight with the Switch. So it is running half the frame rate. The resolution it tops out at 720, but it's dynamic, so it will shift depending on what's going on. But if you're kind of just sitting around playing this and you don't really know about the other versions, I think it would work well enough. But I will say, if you're playing on like a bigger monitor, or just I'm playing on a 28-inch monitor, and I can tell that it is blurrier than it should be. And if you're playing on a bigger screen, like a 40-inch or above, you're going to be able to tell that it's not a very high resolution. It's pretty blurry, and that's just something that obviously we've dealt with. Like I said, if you played Doom and you were fine with Doom, you're probably going to be fine with this game. It's all single player, right? So it's not even like competitive multiplayer, which again works in its favor. The Switch also has motion controls straight up, like right from the get-go. It has there we go. It has gyro aiming, and it works very similar to Doom. So if you like Dooms, there you go. That's the nice thing. We already know about Doom, right? So most of us have probably, if you're looking at this game, you've probably at least tried Doom on the Switch. I do think games like Splatoon do better with it because it's a higher frame rate, like Splatoon 60, and I think that helps it, whereas I think 30 hurts the motion controls. I just think it works better with 60 frames, obviously. Like Splatoon, if you're not using motion controls in that game, you're going to get probably lit up by the people using motion controls, and I just think that has to do with it just working better with 60 frames. But it does work, I think, better than the stick controls, although if I'm playing, I'm usually playing with the Pro Controller just because. And it's single player. It's not like it's I'm playing against other people like in Doom Online or something, you know? If it's single player, you can kind of, you know, go through at your own pace and play how you want. So that's a good thing for that. Now I'm in like smaller corridors and stuff now. It does open up and you get outside and everything, and it does seem to get blurrier when you get like outside, for example. I noticed that, but it's not terrible. Digital Foundry did their thing, and they found that the resolution of this can drop down to like 480p, 360p. So the resolution does drop down to what people complain about on YouTube, for example. So that is a thing, just so you're aware. Like you should be aware. I would research all of this, check gameplay, just to see if it's something that you would be okay with and everything, because the other versions of the game are cheaper, and they look better and they run at better frame rates. But of course, you're not going to be able to leave your TV. So if you do take advantage of the Switch in its portability and everything, you're probably going to want to get this version just because of that, because it runs really well in handheld mode. I actually like it in handheld mode. You can put it in tabletop and still get the motion controls and everything out of it. I like it a lot in handheld mode, and I think it works really well there. The resolution still obviously is lower and everything, but because it's in handheld mode, it's harder to tell. And I just think this is a cool game. It has save anywhere, so I can hit start. It'll load up the menu, and then I can literally hit save, and I can save my game. So I can save anywhere. It'll drop right back in, and that works perfectly for the Switch. Of course, you can also put it in sleep mode, but just the added benefit of not having to find like a save point somewhere, you know, like, oh no, I gotta go save. Where can I go to save? You don't have to worry about that, which is awesome. So that really lends itself to the portable nature of the Switch, and you know, this game just works really well with that. So if you're going to be playing it in portable mode, just know it runs well. It seems to maintain the 30 frames even in portable mode fairly well. It does drop occasionally, but I think the frame rate in this is better than it was in Doom, so Panic Button is upping their game here. Now let me do a couple comparisons here for you guys, because we are going to do some. I at least want to give you guys an idea of what it looks like on the other system, so you can kind of be like, okay, that's what I'm seeing here. We're going to jump over to the Switch versus the Xbox One X. The X obviously is the top of the line for the console version, and then the Switch obviously is the lower end version of the consoles. And you're going to see right away the differences. Obviously 60 frames. If you don't have the 60 frames thing on the bottom for YouTube turned on, go ahead and turn that on, and you'll see that the Xbox One X obviously is smoother. This is even on the base Xbox One, while it does drop down from 60 quite a bit, it still targets that 60 frames, so it is a smoother experience, whereas the Switch is 30. I have to at least give Panic Button credit. They did seem to target frame rate over resolution more so for this than they did for Doom, so the 30 is fairly stable and consistent. I'll give them credit on that. Of course, no motion controls on the Xbox One or Xbox One X version, so there is that. But visually, you can see the difference. It is blurrier on the Switch, even at 720p, which is its roof. It's still going to look blurrier than it targets 4K. I don't think it quite gets there all the time because it does drop down. But even so, obviously the Xbox One X is much cleaner and it's going to look better. If you're just getting it for docked mode on the Switch, I would recommend, honestly, if you're not going to use maybe your Switch doesn't leave the dock at all, or there are people, I know people who don't use the Switch for a portable system, then maybe look at the other versions only because it's going to look better, it's going to run better, and honestly, it's cheaper. It's about half the price. You can go to GameStop, I think, and get it used for like less than $30 right now on the other systems. But let's look at the handheld comparison, and you're going to see the Switch on the left and the Xbox One X on the right. Like I said, the Switch seems to run roughly 720p down to, like, from what Digital Foundry is saying, down to 360p at times if needed. These are in heavy gunfights outside, in corridor combat and everything. They were saying it's generally closer to the 720p, but 600p, 540p. It just depends on what's happening. You have the motion controls in tabletop mode. I don't think I would use them in handheld. I remember I tried doing that with Doom with the Joy-Con still attached, and it wasn't the best experience. I was kind of moving the drop it down in tabletop mode, and then take the Joy-Con controllers away, and then you're good. But you're gonna see otherwise the frame rate's solid. I think it looks good in handheld mode. I think it's just cool to see this game as seriously as a portable game. If you are buying it and you only use your Switch as a handheld device, you're good. Buy it for the Switch and enjoy. It works really well in handheld mode, and I like it. Now let's talk about the Xbox One X in portable mode, its handheld mode. It seems to be running at, I think, 0p. Transparent or all black textures, I'm not really sure here. But obviously the edge has to go to the Switch, I guess. Okay, obviously that was a ridiculous comparison. It's hyperbole, obviously. But it should show you where your I guess your purchasing should lie here. Look, if you're going to play it as a docked-only game, get on the other systems, you'll save money. There's PC, PS4, Xbox One, even the base Xbox One. They'll all run at least a higher frame rate. It'll look better. But if you are going to take advantage of that handheld nature, yes, get it on the Switch as well. It's $60 right now, and you do have to download it even if you buy it physically. So that's one of those games where I say you might as well just download it, right? And don't have to worry about a cartridge for cartridge sake, I guess. Just download it and you're good, and you can travel around with it on your Switch. But yeah, honestly, the game is fun. I like it. It is like 10 to 12 hours. Keep that in mind. There are extras and things to find. But it's a full single player. There's no multiplayer, so keep that in mind as well. Some people might not want to buy it for $60 and then get a 12-hour experience, 14-hour experience out of it and be done with it. Other people might. The story is fun. It's ridiculous. It's not to be taken seriously. And it's fun Wolfenstein shoot 'em up gameplay. So yeah, guys, good job the Panic Button though for porting this over, because I wouldn't have believed it if you told me, when the Switch was first being shown that, oh, Doom and Wolfenstein, especially Wolfenstein's gonna be on the system. I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll see how that goes. Good job the Panic Button. Seriously, I'm really excited to see what their next port is that's getting announced. I assume in a couple weeks now that this game is out. So guys, let me know what you think about Wolfenstein 2. Did you already buy it? Are you enjoying it on the Switch? Or are you thinking, okay, my interest has peaked again in this game because it's being talked about now with the Switch. Maybe I'll look into it for other systems. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are. Does it look good to you? Do you notice that it's blurry? I don't think everyone's going to have the same sensitivity to it, and they might not care as much. So the portable aspect of the Switch is very strong in this game. So let me know what you guys think of this. Make sure you guys like the video if you liked it, dislike it if not. And I'll see you guys in the next video.